Hello, I'm Carmen Cuneo. I'm the precinct chair for Precinct 0210 in Harris County. I also was appointed to serve as the alternate election judge for Precinct 210, my home precinct. Experienced a little bit of alternate judge intimidation today, and this is where actually the voters intimidate the judge, preventing the judge from effectively performing their duties. And some of the duties of the judge is simply asking people to put their cell phones away, reminding campaign workers to stay beyond the 100-foot marker, and very simple things. It's pretty easy to run an election. Well, pretty easy that is until somebody comes and they complain that somebody's presenting push cards, campaign material at the door. And so I went out to see what was going on, and there was Quanell X out there with his entourage. And I asked them if they were coming to vote, and his response to me was, "May I help you?" So I explained to him that I was an alternate judge, and I just went back inside. I could see that Quanell was not interested in doing anything right, maybe antagonizing the situation. So I went back inside. Shortly thereafter, the presiding judge went outside with Quanell and his entourage, with the campaign workers in the parking lot. They went out there with the media and made a very big ordeal of this whole situation out in the media. Shortly thereafter, there was a group of people that assembled in the foyer in the building. I saw them pointing at me and making accusations. I felt very intimidated by this situation. It was pretty clear that there was a mob mentality going on out there, and they didn't like the fact that there was an alternate judge working in the precinct.
Despite the fact that you live in that precinct.
That's right, Bob. You know, the other thing is that I live in that precinct. I live 3 blocks from that church where we were voting today. And I suspect that maybe Quanell X thought I was a plant from the King Street Patriots or some other organization that was actively involved, the Tea Party, with the campaigns and elections. But that was not the case, clearly not the case. I've worked as an election judge for 2 elections in that area, and I have also worked as an election judge prior to that in other precincts when there was not an election judge available. So I have been serving as an election judge for a while, and I am the precinct chair for the Harris County Republican Party in that area. So the presiding judge, after making a great grand spectacle out in the parking lot with campaign workers, Quanell X and his entourage, and election clerks all out in the parking lot. Why they were out there instead of inside doing their job, I'm really not sure as far as the election clerks. But they called the police. The police came and asked me to leave. They said that I was creating a problem, which I was not. I was simply doing my job. I left. I did not want to create a problem, and I went to the Harris County Republican parties and informed them that I'd been asked to leave the polls for no good, valid reason. And they told me that I had a right to return. I returned to the polls with 2 people from the Harris County Republican Party. They told me just to go back and do my job. And the election judge again called the police, and the constable came this time, and they told me that I would go to jail if I did not leave the premises. So basically this they asked me to leave, threatened to jail me if I did not leave the premises. And I left. I went home.
And did anyone ask them what the charge would be?
Yeah, you know, the gentleman from the Harris County Republican Party did ask the constable what the charges were against me, and he really didn't know at first. I mean, he kind of got this deer in the headlight look on his face and wasn't really sure. And then he said, well, she was disturbing the peace, which was completely erroneous because I was inside sitting at the judge's table quietly working.
Did the police know that you were an actual alternate judge that had been legally appointed by the county?
Yes, I told them that, and so did the gentleman from the Harris County Republican Party. Also informed them that I was qualified and eligible to sit in there and serve as an election judge.
Okay.
For that precinct.
So we need to really ask the question under what grounds and who has the authority to actually remove a judge or an alternate judge?
Absolutely, and for what reason? Just for enforcing the laws, enforcing the rules is not a good reason to remove an election judge, obviously. I mean, that's what the judges are there for. Each party gets to appoint a judge to represent the party, and they're to uphold the laws so that the elections are fair for both parties, for everybody that walks in that door, that they have an opportunity to vote in a safe, unintimidated environment. And that's the job of the judges, to make sure that those environments are safe.
And just to be clear, the initial confrontation arose over someone that you asked to put their cell phone away because state law says that you can't have recording devices or cell phones.
That was the initial thing, yes. I had asked people who were coming in. We had quite a long line at the first of the day in the morning. We had quite a long line, and there were a few people in line that were using their cell phones. And I did go over and ask them to please put them away, that they weren't permitted inside the polling location. And the people that were there to vote did not have any objections to it. The only person that had an objection was the gentleman who was there, who was not even authorized to be there. He wasn't a clerk. He had no authorization to be there.
And who was this guy?
His name was Al Green.
Al Green, and he hadn't been asked to work as a clerk or anything?
The presiding judge said he was there because she asked him to be there. He was not a clerk. He was not sworn in. He did not take an oath of office, and he was not on the list of people to work at that polling location.
Was he doing any work in there, or was he just?
Yes, he was. After a long conversation with the election clerk people with the presiding judge, they came down to naming him a peace officer. And apparently this is a legitimate position that he can take, but he's not supposed to be helping with the election. He's not supposed to be getting into the election books, which he was doing. He's not supposed to be using the judge's telephone, which he was doing. He was doing all sorts of inappropriate activities for somebody who was not an election official.
Was he assisting voters that asked for assistance?
Yes, he was.
Without being sworn in as a
Absolutely,
deputy?
that's right. He was not sworn in, he was not listed, and he was working with the voters.
Okay, which, that, as an election judge myself, that's a violation of.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is why I told the presiding judge that he should not be there. He did not follow the rules, would not follow the rules, and complained when I was trying to enforce the rules.
And just so people that are watching this know, even if you ask somebody that's a family member to assist you in voting, that person still has to be sworn in before they're allowed to assist. And basically the oath says that you will not try to influence the person as to how to vote, that you're just helping them with the mechanics of the voting process.
That's correct. And he took no such oath. And I'm pretty sure, have to check, I'm pretty sure he did not receive any formal election training as required.
And was he a police officer?
No.
So how would he be appointed as a peace officer?
Apparently, and I'm not really sure, Bob, because I didn't take the phone call. The presiding judge just told me that a peace officer was a legitimate appointee of a presiding judge, but they were only to keep peace and not to assist voters.
Okay, so we'll look into that and see where that goes. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't asked you?
Well, you know, Bob, one thing I would definitely like to add is that I am personally involved in my community. I was past president of the Rotary Club of Herman Park. We do community service projects in Riverside. We have worked at the Riverside Hospital. We worked out the Riverside Clinic doing back-to-school drives. Our Rotary Club gave 12 computers to Emancipation Park so that the children and adults could go in there and learn skills that can help them with school and with life skills. I do a lot of work in the community, and to be treated like an outsider is pretty bad. It's bad. And the unethical behavior of this election judge who escalated the situation to a hostile environment, it to me is just unethical and unacceptable.